everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about an expansion. This is an expansion to Tiny Epic Defenders called The Dark War. Ooh. This is designed by, of course, Scott Alms and is published by Gamelin Games.
Alright, so this basically adds in a whole lot of new modules and modes of play for the original Tiny Epic Defenders. So I'm not going to do a full teach of how to play the game or anything like that. If you want to check that out, be sure to go to our original review of Tiny Epic Defenders. I'll put a link to that down below in the comments. I'll just kind of give you kind of an overview of what the game adds. Let's take a look. Alright, we're talking about Tiny Epic Defenders, The Dark War expansion. The first thing we're going to need to do to set up is decide whether we're going to play a single game mode or play the campaign mode. If you're playing the campaign mode, you're going to face two generals before you face the epic foe. It basically takes about an hour, whereas if you play the single game mode, it takes about 25 minutes. Here is our generals. Basically, you can see that these are they look a lot like the epic foes, just smaller. There's their health track on the side there, and then there's all the different kind of bad things that they're going to do, locations they're going to start at, and there's a bunch of them there. We also have a whole bunch of new epic foes. And each one of them brings its own new text, flavor, and all the kinds of bad things that they can do to you when they're on the board roaming around. And do you remember our good friends, the Dire Enemies? Well, guess what? We've got even more to mix in. We're still going to use the same amount of them, but these are just more variety. Some of them are a little bit more challenging. But you know what? It's not all bad news. We also have some new heroes as well. They all have new special abilities and things that they bring to the table to make it a little bit more palatable. Otherwise, it's just all more challenges with no relief. And speaking of relief, we now also have these kind of experience cards that we're going to put on our player area, and these little experience tokens that kind of move up and down the track. You can spend experience in a couple different ways, but you can also gain it by defending against the bad guys, by escorting caravans, which we'll talk about in a minute, by defeating generals, and you can also just spend an action on your turn to gain experience that way as well. Alright, so we've got all the locations on the board just like normal. However, now we also have these alternative locations. And these have a friendly side, and they have a hostile side. So what you're going to do at the beginning of the game is you're going to shuffle these up. You're going to choose two of them. The first one you're going to choose is going to be on the hostile side. So we'll replace the coast there with the hostile coast. And then what we're going to do is the next one we're going to shuffle up and randomly choose. We're going to put on the friendly side and replace that one. So we've got the plains, so we'll have some friendly plains. So now, before each location had a special ability, now they've got kind of either an enhanced special ability or I guess a bad thing as well that can happen there. Each one of our locations has kind of some extra bits that they use. We can kind of see over there, we've got some mercenaries that we're going to use in the plains. We've got a manticore. We've got some boats that we're going to use on the coast. We've got a giant tree for the forest. We've got some sandstorms that we're going to use in the desert. Again, we only use two at a time, one on the friendly side, one on the hostile side, but each one of these locations has kind of new components and new challenges that they bring to the table. We've got skill cards over here. Skill cards kind of act almost like artifacts. You know, we've got the artifacts, and now we've got also skills. These generally you'll have to spend some kind of experience to use them. Like this one says, spend an experience on your turn. You can reduce the threat in your current outer region, which is pretty cool. It doesn't take an action. You just use it. It takes an experience instead of an action. We've got all new artifacts that you can shuffle in with your old artifacts, all new things that you can add on. Like you've got this, my favorite one is this Doc Ock looking extra arms that you can add on. But you've got all these different weapons and different things that's going to give you special abilities when you attach them via your artifacts. Now the main challenge of this game, the main thing that this expansion adds is these caravans. There are 6 caravans, we've got 6 outer regions. What you're going to do is, at the beginning of each one of the new rounds, you're going to flip this over, seeing what symbol it is. This one's the coast, and you're going to put it on that location. Now what you have to do is you have to place all of these caravans in their locations, and you have to actually kind of do a pick up and deliver situation. You have to pick them up using both an action and an experience point to carry them one space. So, Red could go over here and do something like this. Take some actions, and then to bring this over here, it would take both an action and an experience. To take it back to the capital city, it takes both an experience and an action point. Once it's back to the capital city, it's safe, it's protected, and it's out of the game. The reason those are important is that's kind of one of the win conditions now. Basically, you have to remove all 6 of those caravans from the board by taking them to the capital city before you can deal the final death blow to the epic foe. So that's how you win. Get rid of all the caravans, kill the epic foe. And just like before, if you are unable to kill the epic foe and, in this case, get rid of all the caravans before the capital city's threat track goes all the way to the top, you're going to lose the game.
I like the direction that the caravans added. Sometimes in this game you were kind of hopping around and you weren't sure like where to go. This is high, but this is also high. Where should I focus on? And the caravans kind of give you a direction, a focus on for each round, which I thought was really neat. Like you could just ignore them if you wanted to, but then you can't defeat the big bad. But I liked the direction that the little caravans gave you. I say it like that. Caravans.
I thought that all the alternative locations were really, really cool. They each had kind of an associated gimmick to them or some extra bits. Like the forest had this big giant tree, or there were spots where there was these warrior cards. There was spots where there was, well, I showed you all two already. But the point is, they all had this alternative version. And on top of that, you only played with one hostile card and one friendly card. So you never knew how it was going to be used and which ones you're going to be using until the game started, which I thought was really, really cool. Furthermore, you have the modes of play of just playing the short round, which is just going through the deck and then facing the big bad, facing the epic foe. Or you can play the campaign mode, which had then those extra generals, which acted basically like smaller epic foes.
Smaller.
You might want to say like they were tiny epic foes.
Oh my gosh, tiny epic foes. he's so proud. He was like, yeah, huh? Get it?
So you face two of those generals before you face the ultimate epic foe, which I thought was added. If the game was too short for you, now you have a chance to get that experience in a longer format.
Yeah, and there's just more ability in the game, like more character abilities, more things that they did, especially needing that experience point. So there's more stuff that you could do with that. And there's also a lot more variety. Like the expansion just, of course, has a lot more foes and like Ryan said, the dual cards. So there's just more variety in the game to begin with. The one thing is and this isn't a bad thing necessarily. When I had reviewed the game originally, I said it was kind of like a nice introductory game because it was really easy and smooth to teach. I feel like if you add this expansion, it kind of takes that away. It's just a little bit more complex to where it's not complex at all, but it just adds a little bit more to where it's not really an introductory game anymore.
I agree with that. One thing I do want to point out is because there's so many different components you had to build to go along with all the different modules and different things, some of the builds were a little more challenging than others. So the caravans specifically are curved, which is a really cool component feature, right?
Maybe.
Except for in order to curve cardboard, you have it be scored and you have it be kind of cracked and kind of be able to flow that direction. We had a really, really hard time getting ours to do the right things, and every time we tried, we would basically damage it.
Yep.
And we were extremely careful, and we still ended up with some damaged components, and we had to bust out the super glue and try to fix it all, which then makes them look ununiform, and since it's supposed to be randomized, that kind of hurts that as well. So if you're building these, use caution beyond caution when you're building, especially when you're kind of cracking the scores of the curved cardboard pieces for the top of the caravans. You will have problems. I almost assure you. It's so hard not to. Just builder beware. Take it easy with those.
Did you see that stress smile I had when I was talking? Like the whole It is very true. It was very frustrating. But if you like a Tiny Epic Defenders and you really enjoy that game and you really enjoy that system and you just want something more, I do recommend this. I think it's a good addition to the game. If it's a game system you already enjoy and you just want to experience more from that game, I think that you would really dig this. And so if you get a chance to check it out, take up that opportunity.
I agree. I mean, this is exactly what we hope to see when we have an expansion is you get more of the game that you like, a little more complexity, a little more special abilities, a little more variability. We got all of that without some extra crazy stuff that made it feel like not like its own game.
Like a different game, yeah.
Right, so still felt like the same game with cool stuff.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. Until then, you can find us on Facebook, we're Ryan Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Twitter, we're Ryan Bethany 1. And on Instagram, we are Ryan and Bethany.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.